Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about absorption of drugs, which is very important parameter of pharmacokinetic. So first of all, what is absorption? It is a process of movement of drug from the site of administration to the systemic circulation in its unchanged form. Why study of absorption is necessary? It is necessary because it helps to determine the frequency of its administration. Also helps to estimate the duration of effective action and to predict the onset of desired or undesired effect of the drug. Desired means therapeutic effect, undesired means it may be side effect or adverse effect. After the absorption, the drug will reaches into the systemic circulation and this term is known as bioavailability, which is totally depend upon the absorption. There will be no bioavailability without absorption, but in case of parenteral, absorption process is skipped. If the drug is administered parenterally, the drug will reaches into the systemic circulation directly without the absorption process. So bioavailability can be defined as the rate and extent of absorption of unchanged or active form of drug. Here you can see the order of bioavailability. Parenteral drug have more bioavailable, maximum bioavailability than oral, rectal and topical. Oral route drugs are more available than rectal and rectal have more bioavailability than topical. What happens with drug? It is depend on the two parameters. First one is state of dosage form and second one is route of administration. If drug is solid, then it goes for disintegration, dissolution, and then absorption. If drug is semi-solid, so disintegration stage is skipped, drug goes for dissolution and then for absorption. If drug is liquid, so it is goes directly for absorption, disintegration, dissolution process will be skipped. Now, second parameter is route of administration. Oral administered drug first goes to the GIT, then GIT after the absorption, and after the absorption goes into the bloodstream. If the drug is administered intravenous, the drug is directly reaches to the systemic circulation, blood. If the drug administered through other routes just like oral, rectal, topical, so drug have to pass tissue barriers. There are various tissue barriers. Drug have to cross that tissue barriers to reaches into the systemic circulation. Now this is the structure of cell membrane. Everyone knows about the cell membrane. It is the biggest barrier for drug absorption. Cell membrane, which is made up of bilayer of phospholipid, but there are also various parts of cell membrane just like glycolipids, peripheral proteins, glycoproteins, oligosaccharides. All these parts of cell membrane used to maintain the semi-permeable nature of cell membrane. The thickness of cell membrane is 25 angstrom and it contains 4 to 10 angstroms aqueous pore. So it permits the small water soluble molecules like urea. Now the mechanism of drug absorption, there are various mechanisms of drug absorption through GIT, gastrointestinal tract. First one is passive diffusion, second one is pore transport, third one is facilitated diffusion, fourth active transport, which is further classified into primary and secondary active transport. Then ion pair transport and last endocytosis, which is further classified into phagocytosis and pinocytosis. The first mechanism is passive diffusion. More than 60% of drugs are absorbed through this mechanism. It is also known as non-ionic diffusion. Absorption through passive diffusion, it's depend on concentration gradient or electrochemical gradient. It is directly proportional to area concentration gradient and inversely proportional to thickness of cell membrane. Rate of transfer of lipophilic and unionized drug is more as compared to hydrophilic and ionized drug. It does not require energy for absorption. Next is pore transport. It is also known as bulk flow filtration or water flux transport. Suitable drugs for pore transports are those whose having molecular weight less than 100 Dalton and water soluble drugs are transported with the help of pore transport mechanism. just like heparin, aspirin. Next is facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion also does not require energy for transport of drug molecule, but it requires carriers. N number of carriers, numerous carriers are present, found, dissolved in cell membrane. The driving force is concentration gradient. Particles moves from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration. Drug and carrier both are bind with each other to form a complex, and that complex will crosses the cell membrane, and drug is bioavailable in systemic circulation. Next is active transport. It requires direct ATP. It is of two types: primary active transport, secondary active transport. What is the difference between primary active transport and secondary active transport? Primary active transport requires direct ATP requirement and also known as unipod. It is only transport the drug from a single unidirection. Secondary active transport required energy in the form of ions or other molecules, either same direction or opposite direction. That's why it is known as symport. Next is ion pair formation, responsible for absorption of compound which ionizes at all pH values. Example, quaternary ammonia, sulfonic acid. In this type of mechanism, the ionic drug will bind with opposite ion complexes to form a neutral complex, and then it forms neutral complex that it crosses the cellular barrier, cell membrane barrier, and reaches to the systemic circulation. Next one is endocytosis. This is the last mechanism of drug absorption through GIT. It is suitable for oil soluble vitamins and small molecular weight compounds just like vitamins A, D, E, and K. It is also classified into two categories, that is phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Phagocytosis is known as cell eating. It engulfs all the drug molecule and reaches that engulfed drug into the systemic circulation. Similarly, pinocytosis, which is known as cell drinking. So these are the mechanism by which drug is absorbed through the GIT. So in this video, we had studied about what is absorption, what is bioavailability, and the different mechanism by which drug is absorbed. Thank you.